Billy the Liquor Guy here. The story you're about to hear, under too long, is the story of bombs, drugs, untaxed alcohol, terrorism, and the undercover agents who brought it all down. Thanks for being here. Episode 4. In this episode, the pressure mounts as the operations get riskier. From high-stakes deals and unexpected allies to the Attorney General's growing impatience, every decision could blow my cover. With millions of dollars on the line and dangerous enemies closing in, one wrong move could end everything. It was all or nothing. Let's get into it.
Chapter 8, The Transition. Stepping back into Thirsty Bear with a different agenda now felt surreal. Here Tony and I were two guys who dealt in liquor about to break into the drug realm. Up until this moment, I'd been so excited about the chance to work a real undercover case that I hadn't considered the true emotions and stakes behind what we were about to embark on. You're the guy that my guys have been up against? The Attorney General's words rang in my ear. Let's see what you really can do. They'd been impatient, quick to want me to dismiss my ways and jump into their case. But I had held tight to what gotten us this far. Now I was ready to show them all I could do. Tony, on the other hand, had already bitten his nails to the quick. While I was ready to storm the bar, general style, he was worried himself ragged about the new van and the deal with the general. Take a deep breath and just be cool, I said as we walked in the Thirsty Bear. Let me do the talking. Hey, Billy, a familiar face from the bar yelled as we made our way. What's up, big guy? I said, patting the loyal patron on his shoulder. You remember my buddy Tony? Yeah, motorcycle guy, he said, sticking his hand out. How are you? Pretty good since I got a new van, Tony smiled. My eyes sprang out of my head. Tony quickly backtracked. What I mean is we got a new van. The other day, our other one broke down. It was time for a new one, I mean. Okay, I said, pushing Tony down into a bar stool. My friend here is a little excited about his new ride. First one in a long time. I could feel Tony's body shaking under the press of my firm palm. You got a new car, Nash yelled from the kitchen window. Ah, I said, brushing Nash's comment aside. Tony here is a little excited about the payment, is all. Thinks we went above and beyond what we can afford. Nash immediately wanted to see the new ride. He tossed his apron off to another guy and walked us out back to take a look. Wow, look at this fancy ride, he remarked, gliding his fingers across the black paint. This is a pretty big upgrade from before. No wonder you're nervous, Tony, being a numbers guy and all. This must have cost you a pretty penny. No, we leased it, I said. Leased it, Nash said, stepping back. You idiots don't own this outright? Who owns anything outright anymore? Lease is the best way to go nowadays, I replied. The best option your money can get. You're dealing untaxed liquor out of a leased car, he slowly repeated. What are you guys, a bunch of idiots? I tried to tell him, Tony erupted. Now you see why I'm so bent out of shape about this? You two are some whiny bitches, I said. You sound like an old bird who doesn't understand modern times and finance negotiations. Don't you have to pay per mileage on the lease? Nash questioned. No, it comes with the deal. Tony, am I correct in believing that you only get so many miles on a lease before you have to pay? Nash asked. That you are, Tony smiled at me. And don't you two drive all over creation transporting liquor? That we do, Tony said, his smile morphing into an evil grin. Well, that confirms it then, Nash said, throwing his arms up in the air. You are officially the world's biggest idiots. Who drive a nice car, I added. Nash shook his head in disbelief. Listen, before I lose any more brain cells talking to you two idiots, show me what you got for me. Tony opened the doors, showing Nash our spacious new layout. It does look nice, I'll admit. Much more room than before. Exactly, I smiled proudly at Nash. You want anything new this week? Add a few more cases of tequila in there, since I apparently need to help you pay your expenses now. Tony added the order to his pad, which Nash happily signed under video surveillance. Listen, about your guy Walt, I pushed in. While Tony arranged Nash's order, he only bought a few bottles from me. He was a waste of time. That moron, Nash said. He probably smoked too much crack that day. This here is the best fucking deal anybody can get. I'll call him again and hash it out. It shouldn't be a problem next time. You headed down there after this? We weren't planning on it, but if you think it's worth it, we'll try again. I just don't like our time being wasted. Nor do I, Nash exclaimed, calling his bar back to carry in the liquor. Listen, I do need to talk to you about something else, I told Nash as Tony helped the bar back stack the cases on his pull cart. But I'd like to keep it between you and me. Of course, Nash replied, stepping away from the van. Once we peered out of earshot of Tony, I hit Nash with my new spiel. Nash, she looks like J-Lo. I kid you not, I said, twisting my hands. A fat old man like me can't expect to keep her around if I can't deliver. I know I've never asked you for anything like this before, but I'm hoping you know someone can help me. Nash stared at me for a moment, leaving me to analyze everything I'd said. Walt should be able to hook you up. I'll give him a heads up when I call him about the liquor. That's it? I said, standing there in disbelief. That's all he had to do to get in the drug ring with these guys. Just ask. What do you want, a notarized letter? He said, opening the back door. I'll call him. Be there in an hour. As Tony and I collected the money from Nash and enjoyed a refreshing beverage at the bar, I was bursting at the seams. I'd taken the first step, with Tony none the wiser, and possibly made our first coke exchange. He's all set for you, Nash yelled out from the kitchen. Head down when you're ready. Tony hesitated when we returned to the van. I didn't hear you say a fucking word to him, he questioned. It was that quick. I gave him my spiel about the girlfriend he bought it. He called Walt himself. I gathered that, Tony said nervously. So what, you just walk in and pick it up? I guess so, I said as we pulled in. You staying in here? Until you give me the go-ahead, I think I'll let you hash it out without me. I don't want to mess up your sale. You saw how badly I almost fucked up Nash's shit. I couldn't stop blubbering about the van. Christ, it was the first thing I said. Yeah, but you made us look like morons, so that was good. Tony looked at me confused. Morons ain't cops, remember? He just thinks that we're two stupid salesmen. Tony remained in the van, streaming my audio through the sound system while I walked in. Walt and the smiley Jamaican were sitting at the bar, waiting for me, a liquor distributor book laid out. You need a drink, Walt asked hastily. I'll take a Diet Coke if you got it, I said, leaning against the bar. I nodded at the smiley Jamaican who was watching me. Cigarette guys, right? I questioned, pretending to place him. Yeah, man, he smiled. We're just talking about you. Think we can help you with your business. That is one conversation I always like to have, I said, extending my hand to him. I'm Billy the liquor guy, as they call me. I don't believe we had a chance to introduce ourselves last time. Nice to meet you, Billy the liquor guy. People call me Double J. Double J, I said, frowning. You got a lot of J's in your name. Nah, man, he smiled. It's from my love of Jack Daniels. Oh, so you really are talking about me, I said, retrieving the soda from Walt. That's my main point of business. Walt slammed the liquor book in front of me and pointed to a bottle of well vodka, which was set at the same price I told him. Why the fuck would I buy this shit from you when I could buy it from the distributor at the same price without worrying about problems from the liquor board? Walt spit out. I concentrated on his right eye. Because I'm here, I replied. Walt gave me a quizzical look. Because I'm here, I reiterated. You're not making any sense. Walt, look at me. Is your liquor salesman here right now? I asked, spreading my arms out and looking around the room. No, he's not, but I am. Yeah, but no buts. I'm here. Therefore, I can sell you the products you need right now. But it's not at a price that makes it worthwhile for me, Walt exclaimed. Any half-assed bar owner knows that product you obtain illegally doesn't get claimed on your sales receipt, I said, forcing myself to stay on his eye. That right there saves you money. Well, I know that, Walt stumbled. It doesn't appear so, I said, aware that Double J was watching me. You call me and I'm here the next day. Does your liquor salesman do that? No. I've dealt with those morons for years, and you want to talk about money? Walt, you buy such cheap shit here, there's no room for me to cut costs. When you start buying more expensive stuff, I can sell it to you at a cheaper price. Since Jack Daniels is Double J's favorite drink, I quote a case. I can sell you JD for $60 cheaper than the listed price here. That's not much of a difference. Walt, you can't be that stupid, I said, growing irritated. Look, you get 30 shots out of each bottle. You charge $3 a shot. That equals $90 a bottle. Minus the tax you won't pay. Do you get that? My tone is strained. While I'm here to sell Walt liquor for my agency, I really wanted to cut to the chase and make the Coke deal. I'll tell you what, when you actually got $234 together, you call me and we'll talk about price differences. This man does seem to know what he's talking about, Double J said to Walt. I think you should consider making a few transactions so you don't take the heat. You don't want your bosses getting mad that you lost an opportunity to make money for the bar. Nash should have already called you and explained all this, I sighed. You should have been ready to go before I even got down here. This is a lot of wasted time on my end, and that was something Nash assured me wouldn't happen. Fuck does Nash want to do with this business anyway? Double J asked, his smile dropping. He pays his fucking lease, and that's all Nash needs to know. The rest of the shit ain't for him to concern himself with. I stared at Double J, confused by his defensiveness. Man, get a couple cases of Jack from this man and a decent case of vodka. People be tired of tasting all your shitty alcohol over here anyway. Double J directed Walt. Without a word, Walt headed towards the cash register. Take it out of the back. I'll count it, Double J informed him. Walt scrambled to the back and returned with a large yellow envelope, which he handed to Double J as the three of us walked into the van and scanned Walt's liquor order. Double J turned to Tony, paying for the order with a wad of cash from the envelope. See you two gents next week, Double J said as we walked back towards the bar. Walt, I whispered, catching his arm. I was supposed to pick up a small amount of cocaine from you. Nash said you could hook me up with an 8-ball. Walt eyed Double J, who was standing in the doorway, waiting for Walt to wheel in the cases he just bought. I don't have anything right now. Come back next week. Without an explanation, Walt quickly turned away and wheeled his liquor into the bar. I stepped back into our fancy van disappointed. I lost our first potential drug sale.
Chapter 9. Rolex Watches. Between the stress of the new details and the extra tales we had to incorporate into everything we did, Tony continued to grow antsy. During our time with Steele, we heard stories of things that came into his pawn shop or people he had to fire for stealing or taking in shitty pieces. Tony, who collected watches, always inquired about what brands he had. You should stop by and see for yourself, Steele would exclaim. I've got cases full. You have Rolexes? What kind of pawn shop do you think I run? Of course, I have Rolexes. Come down, and I'll give you a good price. While Tony talked about visiting the shop, he never gave himself time to make that happen. Now, as I tried to look for little ways to keep Tony happy, I approached the idea. Let's hit up Steele's shop this week and see what's on the up and up. How on earth do you assume we do that? Easy. We get there 40 minutes before delivery to the Polish Center. You check for your watches, and we head back to the center. No big deal. Tony sat considering my plan. Think about it. We take it as our lunch break. Even undercover operatives can shop on their lunchtime, right? Tony looked at me. Plus, it gives us more credibility with Steele, especially if we buy something from his store, I smirked. What if Steele is there? Then he offers you a good deal. What if he's there and he wants his liquor? We tell him he can't have it. Besides, he doesn't work in the morning, so we'll be good. This whole thing sounds stupid, Tony exclaimed. Well, it's the best I can do. Think about it. Your coveted watches could be waiting in there right now. 2 days later, Tony bought into the plan, and we were in action. The shop was in a sketchy neighborhood. Therefore, leaving a van loaded with liquor unattended wasn't the smartest move. So I agreed to stay inside and monitor the area while Tony perused the shop. Tony, you're going in, getting your watches and leaving. That's all you're doing. Tony gave me a quick head nod before entering Steele's shop. There was a large window in front of the shop that left clear view of Tony. I watched as he headed to the glass window, requested to see the Rolex watches, and examined what the attendant put out as a display. Just as Tony was clasping a gold watch around his wrist, I heard a familiar's voice ring out. Is that Tony I see? It was Steele. Unlike my previous theory, Steele was in fact in the shop. Murphy's Law struck again. I jumped out of the van, said hello to Steele, and, as calm as I could contain myself, walked beside him into the shop. Tony's face went white when he saw me walking through the door with Steele. Yo, I called out, my eyes bulging at Tony. Look who's here. What the hell are you guys doing here, Steele said, slapping Tony on the shoulder. You two should have called me, so I knew you were coming. Another day, we're short on time, but I wanted to pop in and see those watches you were talking about, Tony stated. My man ain't going nowhere. Keep looking. I'll go back out with Billy and collect my order while you're shopping. Unfortunately, Tony's right, and we have to get going. We've got an order we've got to fill before the Polish Center. Tony just wanted to pop in.
Well, I'll grab my stuff from you while you're here. I have a busy day, so this actually works out best for me. Our team was miles away with no knowledge of where we were, and per protocol, our van surveillance had yet to be turned on. If we sold Steele the liquor without our crew or feet on, we'd have to answer to Stanton and the Attorney General's unit. That would look bad for the business, especially since they'd yet to spend a full week on board with us. Before I came up with anything, Tony broke in. No, we can't do that. We have another order, and we have to go there now. Steele looked at Tony like he was insane. But my order is here, and I'm here. It will take 5 minutes. I'll even help you unload it if you're that worried. We can't lose another customer, I chimed in. We've already lost 2 this week due to timing. We can't afford to take another loss. We'll be back to you in an hour. I'm your customer, and I'm here now, Steele stated, looking between Tony and myself. You should be worried about losing me. Tony and I started walking towards the door. Listen, we were supposed to be there 20 minutes ago, and he's 15 minutes away. We'll be back as soon as we can, Tony replied as we stepped outside. Steele continued to follow us. Are you guys serious? He yelled as we hopped into the van. It will take 2 minutes. You're right here. Tony pulled out of the parking lot. I'm sorry, man. It just can't happen. I yelled out the window, we'll be back in an hour. We appreciate your business. You guys are some of the most fucked up crooks I know, Steele yelled back. I rolled up the window, watching as Steele stood there, dazed by what just went down. We were getting pretty good at being stupid, and it was working for us. Call the guys and see if they can change the meetup spot to Steele's location, Tony responded. Let them know how we bumped into Steele while checking out his pawn shop, and we need to move up his time slot. Tell them we're already here and we could proceed with the sale if they're ready. Sweat rolled down Tony's forehead as I dialed. To our relief, the crew was 10 minutes out. Perfect, I said, giving them the address to the pawn shop. Now call Steele and tell him we're on our way. Tell him we called our customer because we want him to have top priority. Steele was apprehensive by the call, but pleased. Tony and I drove around the area until our team confirmed they were in position. When we rolled onto the scene again, Tony honked the horn for Steele to come out while I jumped out and began stacking his order beside his car. You want these in your trunk? I asked as he cautiously approached us. That's great, he responded. His voice was tense. Tony and I worked fast before Steele could comment and tell us we were the dumbest crooks again. All set, I said, shutting his truck and wiping my hands on my pants. See you next week. See you next week, Steele said, handing me a stack of cash. Tony and I left Steele in the driveway again, shaking his head. If looking stupid helped seal our relationship with Nash, I only prayed this episode did the same for Steele. Chapter 10, AG's Impatience. Over the next week, Tony and I did a lot of back and forth with Nash, Walt, Steele, and all the joints in between. The Attorney General's office was growing impatient with our lack of product, and Stanton pushed us to try harder. Walt had been playing coy, promising me cocaine and showing up empty-handed every week. So far, the closest attempt we had to buy was when Walt handed me less than a line of coke. What the fuck is my girlfriend supposed to do with this? Sprinkle it in her coffee? It's all I got, man, Walt said. You want more, you're going to have to wait. I stormed out of there, making Tony turn back to Thirsty Bear. Your man is pulling some shit, I said to Nash as I stormed inside. He keeps playing me week after week. Now, I know he's your friend and all, but I don't like being dicked around. If he doesn't have any product, I need to go to someone else who does. Nash got on the line and called Walt. This is a business deal. You don't keep up your end of the deal, and you look bad for business, Nash yelled into the phone. And when I'm referring someone to you and you don't do business, that makes me and my crew look bad for business. I don't appreciate that. I heard Walt apologizing as Nash hung up. He snorted your shit, Nash said, looking at me. He's a cokehead. That's what he does. So what the fuck am I supposed to do? Wait by his bar so I can purchase it before he gets his hands on it? Let me send someone else down, Nash stated. I assure you he'll have your stuff next week. He better, I said, breathless. I'm going crazy over here. I haven't gotten laid in over 2 weeks. That's not good for my head. That ain't good for anyone's head, Nash sighed. What are you and Tony doing tonight anyway? Why don't you come back down? I'm having a closed party. You can relax and meet some of my friends. Maybe someone here will even be able to help you out. Tony had a family function, so no matter how I chose to spin it, Tony turned Nash's option down flat. Jeff, however, was game. Old Quiet Boy had grown tired of sitting in the van, listening to hours of tapes, so it was agreed that he would act as a stand-in for Tony. The night of the party, we had surveillance covering the block, as well as the pole cameras the narcotics unit had installed months ago. Mike, our firearms instructor, happily stepped into Jeff's position in the surveillance van, while Jeff took his wheels. While my ego had led me to believe I was safe with these guys, Mike's presence did offer me a bit more confidence, as he was one of the best shots in the agency. If I decided to push this evening or found myself in any trouble, Mike had my back, and I felt that. We arrived at the party a little past 8 p.m. to a fairly heavy crowd. Nash had the back door open and the tables spread along the parking lot to make way for dancing inside. Half of the tables were already littered with beer cups and gentlemen busy in card games. A band was rolling as we walked in. The music was loud and the air was thick with cigarette smoke and marijuana. Jeff started to cough, and I gave him a soft elbow to the ribs. "Take small breaths," I muttered. Guys I knew from the daytime scene greeted me as we walked in. They all kept calling me Bear and slapping me on the back. "Why are they calling you Bear?" Jeff asked as we took a spot at the bar. "I have no fucking idea," I said, glancing around confused. While I knew a handful of people from my day-to-day operations, there were several more that I'd never met, all of whom glanced our way. "There he is," Gunner shouted as we walked over to greet me, with Bones by his side. "The Bear." "What the fuck is this shit, the Bear?" I questioned. "Everyone's saying that to me." Gunner and Bones broke into hysterics. Jeff and I looked at each other perplexed, waiting for them to share in the hilarity of the moment. "Nash's guys decided we should change your name to Bear once they saw how hairy you were," Gunner said between spits of laughter. "You got the whole fucking place calling me that?" I said, throwing my hands up. "According to them, you are one hairy motherfucker," Bones said, laughing, "just like a bear." "We played the video the other night," Gunner stated. "The place was roaring. With that, the two started howling like banshees. I silently wondered if they think our video was as funny." I turned my seat, unimpressed, and began looking for Nash, who didn't appear to be around. "He's downstairs," Gunner said, still laughing. "Important meetings. Let him know we're here when you get a chance." "Yes, sir, Bear," Bones said, cracking himself up. I felt a headache coming on. That wasn't my scene. Between the band, these two idiots, and all the smoke, I wasn't sure how long this evening would last. "I say we give this a solid 30 for appearance sake and jet," I told Jeff. Jeff, who was looking around like a kid in Disneyland, didn't listen to me. "Jeff," I repeated, nudging him in the side, "you hear me?" "Do you know these guys?" Jeff said, gesturing to two skinny gentlemen both covered in tattoos and sporting leather vests. I didn't recognize them, but as they caught Jeff and I looking, they waved us over. "Think they're gay?" Jeff asked, pulling himself off the stool. "No, I don't think they're gay. Stop being stupid. I think they're looking for something. Play it cool." As we walked over, the two gentlemen rose from their seats and invited us to sit at their table. It was the only one remaining in the bar. Both seemed familiar, but I couldn't tell if I'd seen them before or if they just blended in with the others. Long hair in a ponytail, beard, blue jeans, motorcycle boots, and yellow-tinged fingers. "You're Billy, right? Nash's guy," the man on the right side said. "He was missing a front tooth." "I used to be. Apparently I'm known as the Bear now." The two looked confused, causing me to assume they weren't part of the viewing crowd. "I'm Earl," Toothless said. "This is my friend Jack." "Nice to meet you," I said. Jack had all his teeth. "This is my partner Jeff. My other guy, Tony, is at his own business meetings tonight." The two made small talk about the band, the crowd, and Nash's no color or name policy. My head thumped in line with the music, so I wasn't interested in making small talk. "Guys, I don't want to be rude, but we're heading out shortly," I yelled over the band. "Was there something you wanted to talk to us about?" "We heard you sell liquor," Toothless said. "We've got a joint you should check out. It's 20 minutes outside of here, a gentleman's club. We frequent there quite a bit. We want you to tell them we sent you." "Sorry, guys, but we're not looking at bringing in any new business," I said. "We're pretty busy at the moment." As the men tried to make their case, Gunner approached the table. "Nash will be right up. He doesn't want you to leave yet. Come outside with me." Jeff and I excused ourselves from the table and followed Gunner through the crowd. Bones was outside with the card group we'd seen earlier, flagging us over. "Nash has something for you," Bones said, holding up a bag of marijuana. "It's from his buddy downstairs. Says this might be able to tide over your woman while Walt comes through." Jeff's eyes lit up as he saw the bag, which clearly held quite a few ounces. "First rule of thumb when you're purchasing weed is to try that shit out first," Gunner said, eyeing the bag. "You've got enough customers here. You should let us help you." 6 wide-eyed faces grinned back at me. "Don't be selfish, man," one card guy said. "It's always good to share the wealth." Never one to pass up a fair amount of peer pressure, I turned to Gunner. "I don't think I have anything to roll with right now. My papers are at home." Gunner promptly pulled out a roll of papers from his back pocket. "Good thing I'm always prepared." "Your papers, so you do the honors," I said, tossing the bag to Gunner. "Don't be too greedy, though. I have a purpose for that shit." I couldn't look in Jeff's direction as I knew had just put us in a bad spot. I should have just said no, like Barbara Bush taught us. But my mouth worked before my brain could catch up. Gunner began rolling 2 joints just as Nash emerged from the back door. "There you are," he said, slapping me on the shoulder. "I see you're testing this stuff before heading home. Smart man." "Isn't that the first rule of thumb?" I joked, glancing at Gunner. I introduced Nash to Jeff, who had remained quiet throughout the evening. I suddenly wondered if this excitement to be on the front line had worn off. "Any friend of Billy's a friend of mine," Nash said, shaking Jeff's hand. "Thanks for getting this guy down here. He's not much of a night person, is he?" "Depends how you look at it," Jeff said. "If your night consists of baseball and some dip, then he's in." "And ladies, I'm guessing," Nash smiled. "Maybe I need to get more women his speed down here." "I'm still going to go with the dip," Jeff joked. "You got a funny guy here," Nash laughed. Gunner handed a joint to me. "Do the honors, Bear." "Nah, it's your shit," I said. "I don't want to be greedy." "Greedy? Fuck that, Billy. This is your shit. You shouldn't be sharing it with these dimwits in the first place. Now test the shit, I got you, and tell me I didn't do good," Nash said, standing behind me. I held the joint up to my lips and took a slight inhale. My lungs immediately gasped for clean air as Gunner took the joint from my hand and passed it around. I doubled over, my lungs screaming for air, while everyone around laughed. "I told you it was good shit," Nash said, slapping me on the back and passing the joint back my way. "Take another hit to calm yourself down." I waved away the joint, but Nash insisted. "Take a hit, you'll calm down." I grabbed the joint and took a tiny puff. I expect the coughing fit to continue, but instead, a warm trickle made its way down my burning lungs. "What did I tell you?" Nash said, hitting me on the back again. Either I was high or that was getting annoying as hell. "Feels better, right?" "What the hell is that?" I questioned, pretending as if that wasn't the first round of dope I smoked in over 20 years. "Comes straight from my Cuban dealer. They're meticulous about their shit." "I'd say so," I replied, pulling the night air into my lungs. "Fucking air tastes like cotton candy." Nash and the guy started laughing as I took another deep breath. "It seriously fucking does." "Everybody try this," I said, breathing in the air. More laughter erupted. I turned to look at Jeff. "Can you taste it?" I asked. Jeff shook his head. "I think you've had a bit too much of the Cuban fun," he said. "Might be time to call it a night." "No way," I exclaimed. "There's still so much to do here. Just try the air. I swear you'll like it." The guys were laughing so hard they began holding on to their sides. Apparently, I was a very funny man. "Guys, watch this one," I said, sucking in the air. "Oh my God, that's so good." Jeff grabbed me by the elbow. "Okay, fun air is over. We got to get going now, Billy." "Just one more breath," I said, squatting down and standing up as I inhaled. Everyone roared in laughter again. "Okay, you did it. Time to go," Jeff tensed, pulling my arm. "Come on." "Don't go home yet," Nash exclaimed, tears rolling down his face as he fought to speak between his laughing fits. "The night is just getting started." "True, but Billy isn't the latest person to carry home," Jeff said, pulling me away. "Trust me, I've had the experience before. Ended up leaving him to sleep on his front porch because no one could move him." I started making faces, mocking Jeff behind his back, while he dragged me back to the van, shoved me in, and threw the weed onto my lap. "You're one stupid motherfucker," Jeff said as he closed his door. "You're going to be in deep shit tomorrow morning." I rolled down the window to take in the cotton candy air. "Enjoy it now," Jeff muttered. "I can promise this high is going to make you fall flat on your face tomorrow." Chapter 11, Didn't Inhale. I wasn't home less than 10 minutes before Stanton rang to let me know the higher-ups weren't happy. "They want a meeting tomorrow, Billy. Clear your schedule." Stanton said, "My office, 9 a.m. "It was just a setup," I stated. "I didn't even inhale." "Clinton jokes aside, they want to see you in person. They've got some questions. Just arrive a few minutes early so we can go over your shit before they get here." Any high I might have had ended with Stanton's call. However, the paranoia seemed to set in for life. I roamed the halls of the tiny studio apartment I was set up in while away from home, worried about my job. I couldn't imagine it shut me down for something so small, but there's always the what ifs that roll around in your head, and this one might have been the ultimate what if. You're smoking marijuana on camera? San yelled at me as we sat down. I didn't inhale, I exclaimed. What you saw was me putting the joint to my mouth. I didn't go any further. You're coughing all over the fucking surveillance, San said, leaning his fist on the table. We couldn't even hear half your conversation because you're hacking. You expect us to believe that was acting? You think I'm dumb enough to try any of their shit? I questioned through a pounding headache. I don't know where it came from or if it's laced with anything. It was all show. You should know me better by now. I wouldn't do anything to risk my health or my job. This is the number one thing for me. Stan had coached me on what to say before we entered the room. So far, his lines seemed to be working. Well, tell me how the hell I'm going to explain this tape to the governor, should he come across it. San's cheeks were as red as a pile of beets. How about the truth? I said, looking straight at San. In all seriousness, the Attorney General sent me there to take down a major drug operation. You can't tell me he didn't expect drugs to come about. If he did, then we have a problem. San held my gaze, allowing me to finish. As soon as we get over this bump, my team and I will be surrounded by drugs. So I need to know that I have the Attorney General's support. I don't want to walk in the room and feel like I need to leave because they're doing drugs in front of me, and you're afraid the evidence will make me look incriminating. Let's discuss moving forward. While we're on the subject, he interrupted. The Attorney General is paying you to produce a closed case. He wants a major breakthrough here, and so far, we're not seeing any movement. Like I originally said, this is a process. We move too fast, and everything will blow up in our faces. Give me 2 more weeks, and you'll have something. 2 more weeks, Stan exclaimed. 2 weeks, and you'll have a buy on the table, and a possible backlash of a drug interaction. Again, I can't promise drugs won't come up. All I can ask for is your support moving forward. I'll try my best to keep things on the screen clean, but I need to know if you have my back if things end up looking tricky. Stan stared at me from across the table, and then, just as quickly as the meeting begun, it was over. Stan agreed to show his support and put his faith in our team, and I'd agreed to take myself out as many incriminating situations as possible. Ready to show the Attorney General who they were dealing with, I tossed Tony's schedule out the window and advised him to take me straight to Softail. Double J was already seated at the bar watching soccer. Walt here, I demanded as I stormed in. He's around back, man, Double J replied. He'll be back soon. Have a seat. Double J pulled out a stool and gestured for me to sit. Everything okay, man? You seem less like you today, he said, glancing over me. Oh, I'm just frustrated. Walt's been promising me a deal that he hasn't been delivering on. That doesn't sound good for business, Double J said. I don't think anything Walt does is good for business. Kid can't even get a liquor order straight. Well, if that be the case, then you need to talk to me. I looked at Double J, who was sporting his large smile once again. Walt don't own this bar, I do, he said coyly. You do? I asked, confused. Walt is the front man. Ain't no way Nash going to sell his bar to a Jamaican. So Walt acts as if he's buying it, but I am the man whose name the bar will be in. Oh, man, I said, knowing how mad this would make Nash. Oh, man is right, Double J smiled. Your man down there going to shit his pants when he hears that news. But for now, we keep it quiet, eh? I don't want any of them messing up my plans. Your secret is safe with me, I said, looking up at the screen. You really love this soccer shit, huh? Man, this is a sport to be. All that bat and base shit you be watching is bull. Have those guys who are on the field chasing a ball? That's real man sport. If you say so, I sighed, looking at the door once again. Man, why Walt have you crawling out of your skin anyway? You in a hurry or something? I am today, I said, taking a hard look at the colorful hat Double J was wearing. Let me ask you something, I said. You're always wearing that hat, even if it's hot outside. You got to be dying underneath there, right? It looks hot. Hell yes, that hat is hot sometimes. We're not animals, man, but it's a significant piece of our culture, Double J explained. Every color means something different. We wear it to show our pride. I listened as Double J explained the meaning behind the colors on his hat. Green stood for the fertile land that fed their families. Yellow was for their religious freedom, and red for the blood that had been shed in defending their country. Double J's eyes lit up as he explained the colors, his voice rising as he shared stories of the war his family had fought in. We don't get these hats here, he stated. Stars don't have them, and we don't travel out of the area for lots of reasons. so we hold on tight to what we have. My instincts perked up. Shit, I can get you a hat if you want, I replied. What you know about hats? Nothing, but I have an ex-brother-in-law who's Jamaican, so I know a few spots where I can pick some up for you. You're pulling my leg, Double J laughed. You don't have an ex-brother-in-law from Jamaica. True, but I am in the city a lot. I can easily stop in the corner and pick one up for you. You'd have to get some for my guys, too. I can't ask just for me. No problem. I'll bring you a box full if you want. The words flew from my mouth before my brain could stop them. Man, that would be golden if you could do that. My guys would love it. Let me see what I can do, I said, standing up from my seat. You're not going to wait for Walt? Double J said, looking around. I've waited long enough, I said. I have work to do, and it's clear he's not the right man for the job. You're always busy, he laughed. Never in one place too long. Hey, we all got to make money, right? I said, walking out the door. I'll be in touch. I pulled myself back in the van and looked at Tony, who was deeply involved in a crossword puzzle. We got to take a drive to the city and pick up some Jamaican hats. Now? Tony questioned, annoyed by his puzzle interruption. Not now, you ass, I said. I've got to make a few phone calls first to see where to go. I don't want to be wandering around the city all night shopping for these guys. We have that Jamaican investigator in the city, Tony mentioned. Clark something. Give him a call and see if he knows a place. I knew I kept you around for something, I smiled, pulling out my phone. I contacted our surveillance crew, requesting the name and number of the investigator Tony was referring to, and within 10 minutes, I was on the phone with investigator Blark, arranging a meetup in the city. I got to ask, though, Blark said, what's an old white guy need with a bunch of Jamaican hats? The confidence to close a fairly big case. I met Blark at a coffee shop 2 blocks away from Chelsea's Pier. The shop was busy as Blark expected so. I ordered a medium iced coffee with a touch of skim milk and settled up to the window seat, watching all the foot traffic go by. I'd never met Blark before, but I picked him out of the crowd within seconds. He didn't look like a cop. In fact, he struck me as more of a professor. He was clean-shaven, his hair freshly cut, and he had on a pair of dark jeans and a crisp white dress shirt and brown dress shoes. I guess I stood out as much as he did as he entered the shop and walked straight towards me, hand outstretched. The Billy, he said. I hear you're starting to make a name for yourself up there. Ah, well, I'm hoping you can help me push that name even further, I said, standing up to shake his hand. Well, I have to admit I'm a little curious about what trouble Jamaicans can be getting into up there, other than learning how to shovel snow. They're doing more than their fair share, that much I can say. Word is they've got you working with the Attorney General now, so it must be some big shit. I gave Blark the gist of what we were working with without giving too much away. I just met him, and while he was helping me, I'd been burnt by too many to fully trust them. Blark pulled up a chair beside me and gave me an inside look into his long career with the NYPD. As an investigator set in the Bronx, Blark's jurisdiction dealt directly with the Jamaican population. He'd been involved in a large undercover operation for 5 years that worked to break down the Jamaican gang activity. Your best option is to befriend them, Blark explained. Though due to their cultural bond, I doubt that a few hats can gain a white man like yourself acceptance. Well, let's get those hats first and then see what happens, I smiled. I like a man with brass balls, Blark laughed. Blark walked me down to the piers. This is primarily a Jamaican market, Blark told me as we approached the tents. They come in to sell their wares every day from 9 a.m. to noon. They typically shut down and get out of here before anybody bothers them. I strolled through the market, examining the tables and small tented areas. People were already lined up for fresh fruits and vegetables, questionable meat, clothing, and Jamaican trinkets. Blark tugged my arm and gestured towards a large Jamaican woman dressed in a long, colorful dress. It's Carlita, Blark said. She'll have your hats. Carlita's heavy demeanor, covered by her dress, was highlighted by her thick braids, which she wrapped up at the top of her head. As Blark and I approached her table, I could tell she was analyzing me. Good morning, Carlita. How are you today? Blark asked. And what do you two want? She asked, not moving from her chair. Carlita, my man here needs some hats. Can you hook him up? What would this old white man need with my hats? She asked, glaring at me. What everyone else does, Carlita. He wants to make money. Make money how? He works upstate with the Jamaican community. He says there aren't any hats up there. Carlita grunted, her arms folded across her chest. If you don't have enough, we can head down to Jimmy's cart, Blark said. I'm sure he won't have a problem selling 100 hats. I just wanted to show you the respect of offering you the sale first. 100 hats, Carlita said, uncrossing her arms. Your man here needs 100 hats? Well, why didn't you say so in the first place? Of course Carlita can help him out. Carlita struck her hand out for payment, which I happily added an extra 22. Before she rummaged through the boxes stored behind her table, in that moment I couldn't tell who was more excited, Carlita for the unexpected sale or me for the quick score. I pulled up the Double J's the next day and placed a box of fine Jamaican hats on the bar. What's this? Double J said, peeking in the box. You got the hats? Of course I did, I said, taking a seat next to him. Did you think I was bullshitting you? Oh man, Double J exclaimed, pulling the hats from the box. This is amazing, Billy. There are so many. You said you needed to take care of your guys, so take care of them and sell the rest. Holy shit, he repeated, rummaging through the box. Double J headed to the back door and yelled for his guys to come inside. For 30 minutes, Softail was like a scene from Christmas morning. Double J tossed his hats to everyone, and they thanked me like I was Santa Claus. Once everything settled down, Double J thanked me again and asked if there was anything he could do for me in return. Actually, I've got this girl, I said. She's a little young for me, but she's good looking as hell. Double J, she has this J-Lo ass you could rest a drink on while you're fucking her from behind. Double J's wide grin emerged. Only problem is she's a bit of a coke whore. This guy ain't getting none until she gets some. My dealer in Binghamton got caught up a few weeks ago. Walt's supposed to have been hooking me up these past weeks, but he keeps bullshitting me. I need help, man. I've got to get laid tonight or I'm going to go out of my mind. As nervous as I should have been, the conversation flowed effortlessly. How much you need, man? Double J smiled. An 8-ball will do, but I'll take anything at this point. Tell you what, man, you come back in an hour and I'll have it ready for you. You won't be disappointed either. I've got some good shit. Trust me, she's going to fall in love with you after she has this. Tony and I popped into Nash's to kill time. We made small talk, had a bowl of soup, and counted down the minutes until we made our first buy. By the time we met up with the surveillance crew, my adrenaline was in overdrive. They adhered a camera to the top button of my Thurman Munson jersey and helped prep me for the sale. I took a few deep breaths, closed my eyes, and exited the van ready to over-deliver on my 2-week promise. And I did just that. After weeks of back and forth and failed transaction, Double J happily greeted me at the door, slipped an 8-ball in my hand, and set me on his way with well wishes. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. You're spending a lot of time with the Jamaicans, Nash stated. I don't like it. Nash had been busy selling his monthly wares from the basement. Shoppers were leaving with televisions, large and small, and one patron even purchased a stainless steel hood range oven. My girl would love that, I said as I watched Nash's men haul it upstairs. Can you get another one of those? The next time my guy swipes a truck with one, I'll save it for you, Nash said, counting his money. But are you listening to what I'm telling you about those guys? They're not good for business, Billy. I can barely understand what the fuck they're saying. You think I'm interested in making them my next customer? They'll shoot a man square in the face for $5. They have no regard and no cares, and that's what makes them truly dangerous. Nash had forbidden the Jamaicans from even stepping foot in his bar, though I was fairly certain any man of color wasn't welcome there. Nash made sure the Jamaicans knew it. Once when a Jamaican entered his bar, all the bikers stopped what they were doing, rose to their feet, cut the music, and switched on the lights. According to Nash, the Jamaican put his hands in the air, apologized, and ran out of there faster than a rabbit being chased by a fox. There were rumors as to why Jamaicans had come there in the first place. Some people claimed he was there to rat on his fellow brothers. Others claimed he was sent as a lookout to rob Nash's joint, and even more said he'd been looking for a certain biker chick who was known to offer sexual favors to darker men. According to Double J, the Jamaican had just been sent to the bar from Walt, who needed some change. How you doing with your girl anyways? Walt hook you up? I felt my throat tense as I lied to Nash, for what felt like the first time. Yeah, he took good care of me. As our case heated up with Double J, the narcotics unit began pushing. They wanted more coke, frequent sales, and more insight. By the second week, I'd asked Double J for 2 8-balls. Man, your woman's really into it, huh? I expect you to come in here walking all hunched over next time, Double J said as he slipped me what I needed. This shit is too easy, Tony said one day. It's going to fall apart soon. I see it. It's not going to do anything of the sort, I assured him. We're in and out. It's quick business. That's it. And when Nash finds out you're dealing directly with Double J, then we figure that out when it occurs. But for now, let's just ride the wave and see where we wind up, okay? And if we spend all our time building a case for the narcotics unit and lose our own, We can expand on our deliveries if that concerns you. Jeff and I got an offer on that gentleman's club a few weeks ago. We could try that if it will make you feel better. Get back onto our scene for a bit. I don't know. Maybe I just need a break from the drugs for a minute, you know? Things are going too fast. So let's do that then. Let's go check out the joint and see what we find. It'll be like old times. 4 weeks ago, old times, Tony smiled. Exactly. I said, phoning in our new deal to Stan and the crew. For some reason, I didn't think anyone would have a problem examining this club for one night. The gentleman's club looked like every other club. The windows were blacked out, the room was dark, and there was a stage set with shiny silver poles, and of course, a handful of female dancers. The stale smell of beer and sweat permeated my nose as soon as I walked through the door. This place look all right to you? I turned to ask Tony as we entered the club. Tony's eyes focused on the pole. A big fucking smile plastered across his face. I'm good, he replied. We made our way to the bar, ordered a drink, and asked for the owner. He expecting you, the bartender asked. He was a fairly large guy who I assumed acted as security when needed. No, but his friend sent me down. I've got some items he's supposed to be interested in. The bartender picked up the phone and called his boss while Tony and I paced the joint, taking in the women and the surroundings. Entranced by the blonde who made her way to the pole, I failed to see the owner who stood beside me. You like her, he asked. She's new. She's okay, I replied, a little too young for my liking. The gentleman eyed me suspiciously. He was about 6 inches shorter than me, so I got a clear view of the hair that was thinning on the top of his head. That's one complaint we never heard, he shrugged. Too fat, too old, that we've heard. Too young, not too much. Are you the owner? I inquired. The guy at the bar told me you'd find me. Jack, he said, sticking out his hand. What can I do for you? I introduced myself as Billy the Liquor Guy and began my story of untaxed liquor sales. I made sure to mention the 2 men I met in the bar. Names don't ring a bell, he replied. I'll have to check in with the bartender. Anthony. Anyway, what type of product you talking here? I've got an overstocked supply right now, I told him. Come out and take a look. I dragged Tony from his luxury seat by the stage. Clearly, my plan had worked, and Tony was finally starting to relax. Jack was in awe when we showed him our product. Right off the bat, he ran an order for multiple speed rack units, as his customers weren't known to spend their money on top-shelf liquor. As we made our way inside, each carrying 2 cases, Jack offered to buy us a drink. I wanted to keep Tony as engaged as possible, so despite my desire to head out of there and make more time with Double J and his crew, I took him up on his offer. Within 20 minutes, this guy and I were best friends. He told me about his lazy liquor distributors, complained about his business, and talked about the difficulties of working with women all day. I don't think that would sound like a problem to a lot of guys, I laughed. That's because I never worked with a lot of broads before. Tony was caught up with the brunette who'd taken the stage. While he was watching her, I was watching the gentleman who kept walking into a back room with the dancers. I've got a golf tournament coming up next week, Jack told me. You guys should come as my guest. There will be all sorts of bar owners coming in. It can be a good business introduction for you. I appreciate the offer, but we're pretty good on business at the moment. Can't really afford to take any other new clients on. But if you're looking to purchase some extra liquor for the day, we'd be happy to help you out. Just trying to help you out is all, Jack stated, gesturing for another round of drinks. How about girls? See any you like? You got a nice group here, I responded, accepting another drink. Best club of women I've been to in a while. I work hard to keep it like that, he smiled. You see anyone you like for yourself? They're all available, you know. Does that one over there look like Catherine Zeta Jones? I questioned. Jack called over the dark-haired woman and introduced her to Tony and me. My initial response was correct. The girl looked just like the Hollywood talent. It's something we're known for, he smiled proudly. We've got a makeup artist in the back. I pay her a good chunk to help the girls favor different personalities. Well, that's pretty good, I said, taking another look. She's for Tony, he said, brushing her off to him. Jack gestured over to a larger girl. What? No, I exclaimed as I saw her approach. She looks like Kathy Bates. You said you didn't like the young ones. Jack backtracked. She's older. I don't want a young girl dancing in front of me, but I also don't want that. Who the hell fantasizes about Kathy Bates? You'd be surprised, Jack smiled, gesturing for the girl to go back. We get a lot of requests for her. Well, on that note, I'm going to excuse myself to go take a piss, I informed Jack. I'll be back. It was our first time here, which let me plead ignorance should I be caught snooping around. I easily made my way around the back to look for a bathroom and began checking out the rooms I'd watched people go into. At first, I counted 5, but as I looked harder, I noticed that the back room had another room attached to it. I stepped in for a closer look to discover the rooms were designed to entice further pleasure for the customers. "You a watcher?" the blonde from earlier asked me as she stepped out from the room. "I'm all kinds of things," I responded. "Out of curiosity, how much does something like that go for?" "Well, peeping is illegal, I'm pretty sure," she teased. "However, for the real deal, it ranges from $50 to $200, depending on what you want." The blonde stepped closer to me, making me uncomfortable in my role. Tony and the crew were out of sight. Should anything go down or the girl accuse me of anything, there was no one to back me up. "That's good to know," I said, stepping away from her. "I'll let Jack know you were very good about offering." The blonde sent me off with a wave and a bright smile. By the time I was back in the bar, I was running numbers through my head. I calculated 7 rooms, 10 working girls that I could see, and 30 gentlemen. I quickly added up a large number of untaxed transactions that were happening every day, just as Jack was waving me back over. "Where's Tony?" I asked, spotting the lovely Catherine seated on Jack's lap. "He got an important call and had to head back out to the van. Something about his reception not working right in here." Shit, I thought. I didn't give Tony a heads up before I went exploring. Being apart was a big no-no when it comes to the surveillance crew who was awaiting us out front. "What the fuck do you mean you don't know?" the crew screamed at Tony. "How can you not know where he is? You were in there together, right?" "Yeah," Tony replied as they stood there glaring at him. "You made the liquor sales with him." "Yeah." "Then how the fuck do you not know where he is?" Jeff hollered. Docs being docs attempted to throw me under the bus, claiming I was with a girl. "Billy ain't like that," Tony said, shutting down Doc's idiotic response. "He's probably in the bathroom." "Suddenly you know where your partner is," Doc said sarcastically. "You need to go back in there," Jeff yelled. "We can't have something happen and not know what he was doing." "They're trying to get me to hook up with one of the dancers," Tony said. "I can't go back in there." "But Billy's in there," Jeff cried. "You have to go back in and find him." "Fuck," Doc shouted. "Billy's always putting us in these situations. He's going to fuck our whole team." "What team am I going to fuck?" I said as I walked up. Everyone turned to look at me, their faces flushed. "Where were you?" Jeff shouted, angrily approaching me. "I was in the back seeing what's going on," I said. "Wait until you hear this." "I don't want to hear anything from you," Doc spat out. "You've got the whole team in disarray. You didn't communicate jack shit with your partner. We're about to bombard the place looking for you." "Well, I'm here," I smiled, extending my arms, "and I've got some good shit on this place. Man is turning over a whole sex operation back there. We hit another jackpot." The team didn't care what I found. They were so pissed at Tony and me that they headed back to their van without another word. Tony and I documented what we found and tracked our liquor order. Thanks to my missing time and Tony's questionable knowledge about my whereabouts, Stanton and all the powers that be made a written documentation informing all caseworkers that we were not allowed to go inside any type of gentleman's club again. Even though Tony worried that the band made us look questionable, I was happy I'd gotten Tony back to his old self for the night. If anything, we had one hell of a story to tell, Kathy Bates and all.
Walking that line between criminal and cop was only getting harder. The deeper I went, the more dangerous the game became, where trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. But backing out was never an option. Stick around. Things are about to spiral even further out of control.